Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simon Götzen and you're watching Simon Says on Mtgo and we are drafting Dragon's Maze Gatecrash Return to Ravnica on Magic Online. Now, this is probably one of the most complicated limited formats ever, with all the 5 guilds being draftable, all 10 3-color combinations being draftable, all 5 4-color combinations being draftable, and 5-color decks not being unreasonable either. And it all hinges on how to go through the Dragon's Maze pack, how to set up for Gatecrash, how to set up for Return to Ravnica. There was an interesting article by Ben Stark on how to draft Gatecrash guilds if you start off with powerful Gatecrash commons or Dragon's Maze commons that happen to be in a Gatecrash guild. And then the other way, if you want to draft a Return to Ravnica guild, which is considered to be weaker overall, a weaker strategy, because you'll end up knowing if your deck works out later. Then you want to make sure that there are signals coming from the right that make you sure that this guild, the respective guild in Return to Ravnica, is going to be available to you. Now, with that many options to choose from, it's kind of difficult to do a draft video series where you just highlight every one of these strategies. So what's most important in this format isn't to figure out all the archetypes, all the different decks you can draft, but to find the niche that you are comfortable playing with. Michael Jacob has been very successful in drafting 3 to 4 color decks with up to 18 lands, up to 3 mana stones, and just having high impact 4, 5, 6, 7 drops in his deck. And then there is other people that will tell you that they have been drafting Boros and other aggro decks very successfully. I personally think that you almost always end up in 3 colors or more, or that there isn't a high enough payoff to going strictly for a 2-color, and that a lot of things have to go right to do so. I think it was Luis Scott Vargas who wrote an article about his Pro Tour experience where he said that he drafted Orzhov cards in pack 1, but then his left neighbor must have switched into his guild because he was getting the cards from the left and was still open to drafting those 2 colors, or maybe splashing cards of that color. So even a lot of the strategies that sound good at first can backfire very easily. The one thing I'm taking away from the drafts I've done is that mana consistency is still one of your main priorities, and that holds for 2, 3, 4, and 5 color decks all the same, and that you want to have a lot of 2-drops in your deck, actually, because those are the ones that come down before the clue stones. And when you think about that, whether you or your opponent are playing the clue stones, it means they are missing their 3-drop, which means that any 2-drops you play have a larger an increased reign over the board for a longer period of time. And if you play the Cluestone on turn 3, you are happy to have a 2-drop, and if your opponent plays a Cluestone on turn 3, you are happy to have a 2-drop, and in the best case a 2-drop followed by a 3-drop. So curve is still highly important, and if you are a multicolored control-ish deck, that doesn't mean that your curve should be higher. It means that you need to have the most make the most out of your early drops, and then compensate for the higher curve with some mana stones, and in the best case, cheap removal spells. One thing I want to figure out is how far I can take this strategy. How aggressive can I make my decks without being too disadvantaged on the power spectrum? And then, of course, I would love to go into 5-color sometime, or just draft good 2-color decks. But like I said, there isn't enough episodes of Simon Says with Dragon's Maze that I can cover every single archetype, because we are basically looking at a format that has approximately 25 possible archetypes to draft. There was an interesting statistic that was showed at during Pro Tour coverage, where they had the most successful deck being drafted in Magic Online 8.4s was everything but white, so a blue, red, black, green deck, and that was the 16th most popular archetype, but the most successful one at that. That shows you how many different decks there are and that are getting played. And I, for one, don't really know what to expect from my opponents because everything can happen, and you can never be sure what your opponent is sitting on. It is a challenging time for making draft videos, but I'm trying my best. Hope you're enjoying the show. Please let me know in the comments what you think, and not only what you think about Dragon's Maze, but also about the series and my work. So yeah, that's basically it. Enjoy and see you next time. Bye bye.